Welcome, everybody, to Pivot Point of View. And today we are joined by the one and only Mr. Phil Haugen from Weatherford, Oklahoma. Phil is a horse trainer and clinician. And quite honestly, I found his methods probably about 5 years ago. And it really made a huge difference in my life with my horses. And his personal development stuff is just spot on with every aspect of life. And so Phil has kind of been there, done that, and we're so thankful that he is willing to share his knowledge with us and be an inspiration to us. You've seen his horses compete at the NFR that he has trained. They have had over $1 million in Equistat earnings. And so he is definitely one to listen to and look his stuff up. We're excited to be hosting one of his clinics this fall. And so, anyways, without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Phil. We're really happy to have you.
Well, I'm excited to be on here. And last night, Emma, your daughter, and I had a long conversation, and I was telling her we were going to do this morning. And I love being the guest instead of the host because I've done a few of these podcasts, and it's fun being the answer of the questions sometimes for me. So thanks for having me on. And what you all are doing is becoming a bigger and bigger part and need in this industry. We had a long conversation about that last night. I'm just coming off partial knee replacement, about a little over a week into it. And, it's just like for me now, I'm going to be, and I was telling her this last night, I'm going to get with you two, and I would like to develop a program for me, not only on the stretching and rehab side, but on the conditioning side, because I've been around long enough now that I kind of need to work twice as hard at keeping
Yeah.
my physical condition and my, being limber. I need to work twice as hard at it to have half as much as what I used to have. It's just that way, the longer we get to hang around. So yeah, what you're doing is much needed in this industry. It's going to become, I think it's going to grow by leaps and bounds in the near
We're
future.
pretty, yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Destri reached out to me this winter. He and I have known each other for years, and he and I both have a passion for helping people and conditioning, and we both compete and ride, and so it's been really good. I'm kind of the get him out of pain kind of girl, and he definitely can take people to a higher level. And so I think together, and we're very like-minded in growth. I don't know that there's a day that we don't text each other with an idea about, hey, how do we increase reaction time with people? And so it's been a really great journey. And I agree, like the older we get, the harder we have to work at just maintaining where we're at. And then if we want to improve, then that just, we have to work that much harder. So it is, and I'm glad you see the value in it. You said something to me like when we first started doing one of our first clinics, and I was getting a little burnout on physical therapy. And Phil, you said, you can take the gifts you already have and apply that to the horse industry. And because at one point I'm like, I just want to go ride my horse. I don't want to deal with the HR and the employees and all the insurances and stuff. And so, that really helped get my mind rolling that way. And so I think that brings me to my first question, Phil. Like, you have such a great mindset and such a great perspective on like forward thinking and progressive thinking. And Was there kind of an aha moment for you that made you think, hey, we have to do better. We have to think better. Like, was there kind of a turning point for you? Because I know you talk a lot about, being a tired, wore out, training horses and
Yeah.
just surviving. And so what kind of was that turning point for you?
Yeah, as far as on the exhaustive side of it, like I get a lot of flack from my friends about my wrinkles, but I've earned them. I mean, I earned every one of them. And, you know, yeah, there's been a couple moments. Number one, on the horsemanship side of it, there was a day where it was hot summer day. I'd worked a bunch of horses that day. And at that time, I rode mainly rope horses, mainly calf horses. And it was like, the rollover car wreck or the bar fight that just wouldn't end. Right. And I got done at the end of the day, and it was hot. I was wore out, took a shower, and I remember standing in my bathroom. And at that time, we had a little place, 10 acres, like a 14 by 80 mobile home. I mean, it was, when you talk about starter places, it was a starter place. Well, I looked at myself and I said, you know, I'm pretty sure those 10 horses didn't get together and say, let's make this day miserable for Phil. So I said, I'm pretty sure it's something you're doing. And you either, because and I told myself, I said, right now you suck. You either need to get better or you need to go do something else. I mean, work ethic in our industry is never an issue. The people in our industry are willing to work. If you're, Destri, I know you rope calves. People that do what we do, you got to work at it. You got to put yourself through. You got to put yourself through some torture, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was one. And then I had a guy tell me one time, and then John Maxwell also said the same thing. He said, if you don't work as hard on yourself as you do your career, you'll never grow. And, at that time, I just, I was having a lot of those days where I'd be at the end of the day sitting in the barn questioning myself, how could I work any harder? Because I'd made up my mind real young that anytime I set my mind to something, you weren't going to outwork me. I was going to show up and I would wear you out. That was just my attitude. And whether I could or not, I don't know. But that was my attitude. I mean, I would, unless both my legs are broke, I'm going. Well, which served me well in some areas and not in others, because there is a point in there where you need to, the term work smarter, not harder. There's a lot of relevance to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can, and I deal with more and more trainers, and just this week, I had this visit with one where they were asking me, like, when does it change? When does it get better? This is my schedule. It's a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
When does it get better? Well, you can get so focused on the career side of it, the training side of it, and if you don't pay attention to your personal development, well, personal development is what you're doing, because anything you do to help your body is going to help your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where the mindset starts. I mean, and so those moments, when you have I call it pivoting, you have to pivot. You have to have those moments where you figure out, okay, I'm working hard, but how can I work smarter? It's like working out. I've got my workout routine that I'm doing right now, and actually I'm not doing it right now because it kind of hurts to move my legs sometimes, like most of the time. And but that'll get better here shortly.
Mhm.
But just like with my workout routine, I know, and I've had this on the back of my mind for a long time, but where I'm home some, I'm traveling a lot, I need something that I can implement no matter where I'm at.
Mhm.
And that's what Emma and I were talking about last night. What you do is make it feasible time wise for somebody, because I'm not gonna drive in and go to the gym every day. I'm just not
Right.
that guy. I'm just
Yep.
not that guy. So,
Mhm.
long answer to a short question, but that's you know that's kind of how I got to where I'm at.
Yeah. And the, the philosophy that you have and your approach to it, your one of your themes or your, I don't know, taglines or what, is, uh, improving communication, help building, bridging the language barrier, right? And so I appreciate the, the help that you give people in, helping them understand that that horse just isn't wanting to be a jerk. Like you said earlier, those horses didn't get together and say, hey, we're going to make this a bad day for Phil, like helping to understand why they are doing what they're doing. And I see so much, like such a need for that with people, that when you grow up you only know what your teachers, what your parents or whoever taught you about horses. And so as we're going through our life with our horses and competing, we think at first that the horse just does things to be ornery, or they just do this or that. But for us to work on our horsemanship and have that connection with them, but then understanding, um, what they're trying to tell us, that is key. And your the way that you communicate that, really anymore, you're not so much a horse trainer, you're a people trainer, and you're training us, individuals, to help us understand that. And we sure appreciate that side of it. So I like the fact that you've added your mentorship weeks. And so tell us a little bit about that, and like what's your ideal person, or who's your ideal client to come to a mentorship week, or tell me some of the backgrounds of people that have signed up for mentorship weeks.
Yeah, the mentorship weeks just kind of grew themselves. That wasn't even an idea that I had. Um, we started the mentorship weeks basically off of requests from just a few people that wanted that are growth minded people that understood that there's something missing. And the mentorship weeks are 100% focused on the horsemanship side of it, which is communication and leadership, the personal development side of it, which is understanding your mindset, your thoughts. But at the same time, like I said, on the personal development side of it, a big part of that is understanding what you're doing, because everybody. So when I started, and I've always been into personal development, goal setting to a degree, but there's a whole bunch of it, just like horsemanship, I didn't understand. Right? I mean, there was, because it's just like everything, you get nuggets thrown at you from all over out there. But if you don't have a program, the nuggets are worthless, right? It's like getting the recipe for a cake. You can be the best cake maker in the world. You can give me all the ingredients and the recipe, and mine is not going to be like yours, right? I mean, it's just you got to have a program. Well, on the personal development side of it, I have not ever followed one person in the personal development space that first and foremost didn't take care of their physical body,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what generates this, your mindset. right? So we talk a lot about that. And let's face it, I mean, just look around. I travel a lot. I'm in a lot of airports. A lot of people need to look around and we need to get in shape.
Mhm.
I mean, we got to, I mean, it's just, and it's diet, exercise. I mean, it's not, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We got to move. Our
Mhm.
bodies are made to move. So, on the personal development side of it, it's so easy to skip all that and just be focused on your career, right?
Mhm.
And the career part, like for me, of course, it's horsemanship, it's training horses, it's teaching people. So then you have the personal development side of it. But then after that, we work on marketing and brand building and helping people understand. And Emma and I talked a bunch about this last night. It doesn't matter who's signing your check. You are self-employed. You are
Mhm.
building your brand every day. Your feet hit the floor when you step out of bed, you
Mhm.
know? And it's just like somebody that's working for me. Yeah, I'm signing their check, but they're building their brand every day by how
Mhm.
they act, what they do for themselves, how they conduct themselves, how they manage themselves, how they complete the task that they're
Mhm.
asked to do. I mean, you're building your brand every day. And we just it is so, and I was this guy. I was the guy that I showed up and I worked and worked and worked and worked on horses. And it has served me well because what I share from the horsemanship side of it is from all my failures. I mean, that's where I learned the big lessons. And the
Mhm.
other part of it is I've been really fortunate. I've been around long enough. I'm going to be 60 in August. I've been at this, I've rode horses for the public since I was 16 years old. And prior to that, my dad and I rode a bunch of just whatever,
Mhm.
right? Anything you could get a halter on with four legs, we'd try it, you know? So
Mhm.
that part of it, the reason the reason that's easy for me is I've just lived longer than most people that got to hang around in this space. But the personal development side of it, which, like I said, along with that comes the physical conditioning, and it's not. Here's the thing that everybody needs to, you know, I don't know what your customer base is, but I'm guessing it's people somewhat in my generation, right?
Mhm.
For the
Mhm.
most part, it's when
Yeah.
we start wearing out is that we need help.
Yeah.
Well, we have to work you know, real hard to get to be half of what we once were. I mean, what I did at 30 years old, that ain't ever happening again. If somebody says, "Well, I'm gonna get back in shape," no, you're not. I mean, you better get your butt to work just so you can maintain what you got. And
Mhm.
then, you better work even a little harder if you want it to get better, right? Because
Yeah.
that's which has been a hard transition for me because I've always worked. I
Mhm.
mean, getting up and moving is not an issue. Now, stepping on a horse and not being stretched, loose, limber,
Mhm.
that's a big challenge. That's a challenge now.
Mhm.
That's something I
Mhm.
have to pay attention to, or you end up being one of those guys that gets their pelvis split when their horse hops once, right?
Ac- Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yep. And career ending then, for somebody in a position like yourself, or, definitely a big hiccup in the career for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it may not be career ending, but it definitely changes the journey significantly because I know very few of them guys that have come back from that. Men and women are
Yep.
just built so much different, which obviously that's, you and Destri's area of expertise. I mean, our bodies are different,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so, and then, along with that, on the mentorships is we talk about this all the time, and you and I have talked about this. Pretty good isn't good enough.
Hmm.
Pretty good is the new, now we call things pretty good that are really and truly just okay, or I say it's just a step above sucking, right? Any time somebody says, well, he stops pretty good, I'm like, yeah, he's terrible. I mean, I guarantee you it ain't gonna be good. Or he's pretty good until I do that. Okay,
Hmm.
it's just not. I guarantee, 100 times out of 100, that's not a good term to lead with, right?
Hmm.
So if I
Hmm.
tell you I'm in pretty good shape, I'm a marshmallow, right? You know, I mean, I'm just lying. I'm just lying to myself, So in the mentorship weeks, it it's been so we tried one, and it was literally those simple concepts that we just talked about. It was literally life changing for some of those people just because they changed their philosophy.
Hmm.
And like when I tell people, and you know work ethic is not really an issue in our industry for the most part. It's just like if you're going to go to barrel bash and set up and work. And I know one night, I think Destri Emma told me you were working till midnight one night on people.
Man, yeah, bonus race. I was
Yeah,
over
bonus race. Yeah.
visit bonus race. I was over there, and man, I just whoever wanted to get worked on or needed help, I was gonna stay as long as I could until I was done. And the last person got off my table at midnight, and that was one of the greatest days ever. I mean, just the fact that, and I didn't get tired. I woke up that day. I got there at Shawnee at 9 a.m. and worked on people until midnight. And just the fact that people were seeking out my help, and maybe I was the only show in town probably at that time, but they were trusting me to give them the help they needed, and I didn't take that lightly. And I just, like you said, there's no issue with work ethic in our industry, and I think growing up in a ranching background, it was nothing for me to work on those people for that long and then drive back home to Tulsa another 2 hours. So, I mean, it was a really great experience, and I was glad I was able to do that. And I think the best part about what we're doing, and one of our main missions, is to help people be their best, no matter how old they are or whatever. Because that's one of your big things, is just be your best. And sometimes being your best looks different as you get older, but it's not like you lose hope or you can't be at the level you want to be. It just looks different, and there's no shortcuts. But with our program and identifying your weaknesses and restrictions, there is a straight line. And wouldn't you say, even with the horse training, there may not be any shortcuts, but there might be a straight line or just something that you're missing that somebody else can help you with.
Yeah, 100%. And you hit the nail on the head there. It kind of goes back to talking about the term pretty good. Pretty good's not good enough anymore. Let's just be really good, meaning, and when just talking about be your best, be the best version of you can be. Don't worry about everybody else. One of my favorite sayings is comparison is the thief of joy. And that holds really true to me because there were
Hmm.
times I fell into that trap. And by comparing myself to others, I would beat myself up because I didn't have that result that they're having at that moment. Well, the one thing, like everybody, I think we all in this industry need to understand is, everybody's unique. Everybody has unique gifts. Talents
Hmm.
are gifts. We didn't earn them. We don't deserve them. We just have them. Whatever your talents are, roll with it. Use it.
Hmm.
Skills are different, just like in the horsemanship world, just like in what you're doing. Skills are things you can teach and people can develop. That's why you can put me on a program. I can work at it and I can get better, right? And
Hmm.
so, a lot of times I think, and I really see this through our clinics, but more through the mentorships because it's more of an intense week-long program that people understand it's okay I need to just be me, just be you, but be a better version of you at the end of today than where we started. And maybe that's one small thing. Well, and we're all about instant gratification, but it's all about the preparation. The results will take care of themselves. It's just like your programs. If they implement your programs, I know when you set me up on a program, if I implement it the way you tell me to, the results will just show up. I can't keep them from showing up. It's like having a good practice schedule. It's like having a good training program. If I implement my training program, I'm going to show up with a horse that's confident, has a solid foundation, and is using the thinking side of their brain, is user friendly. I mean, if I implement my program, I'm going to get the results that I want. And so I just I just think it's a lot of times the people understanding that and changing their philosophy, because it sounds it sounds like you're almost bragging when you say it was life changing for this person. The only reason it's life changing is because they change their philosophy or their thought process. And like I tell them, that's 100% on them. It's just like what you do. You can give somebody a program, but the results are 100% based on them. And they need to give themselves credit for that, right? And people don't, you know. And that part of it, whatever we're doing, I think is one of the huge keys, is understanding that that being your best is just sticking to your plan, continuing to implement it. The results will come. The results are guaranteed. You can't keep the success from coming if you'll implement a plan or a template that's going to get you there. And once people start to realize that, they get hope. See, because there's a lot of people running around without hope. You got to have hope.
I think
you got to believe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people also, they try to wait until things are perfect, and instead of just like getting started. And Becky, you said it the other day, we were talking about diets. Like, I'm just trying to be better, not perfect. And taking that approach and just getting started. I mean, how many people don't do something because the conditions aren't perfect, or they don't do it a perfect way, or something like that? I mean, just getting started and getting better every time is so important.
Yeah, it's all you nailed it there. It's all about progress, not perfection. If you're the type of trainer in my business that everything's got to be perfect, it would be miserable to be a horse in your training barn, because all you're going to do is get picked on, right? It's like playing a sport for a coach that you're doing 9 out of 10 things really good, and all they do is focus on the one thing you're not great at, and they wear you out, right? Anybody that's played sports can relate to that, right? Well, it's all about progress. And the other thing is, in our lives, everything we do, it's all about get started. I don't care what happened yesterday. Get started again. It's just like now, I haven't been doing my workout routine, and I'm going to get my knee just a little bit better, and then I'm going to get started again. And it's okay that there's breaks in there. Like if every time there's a break in your routine, you quit, you're going to quit everything. And that's what people do. They quit doing anything because they're like, oh, I couldn't keep up my diet. I fell off the wagon. It's I went and had an ice cream sundae. Who cares? Get up tomorrow and get started. You know, life's to enjoy too. You know, there's certain
Yeah.
things I'm always going to do, and then I'm going to pay for it by having to go to work. But I'll take I'll take the trade off. I mean, I'm going to enjoy myself. But so that's one thing that goes back to mindset, but mindset is preceded by what are we going to do to help our bodies? Because I mean, anytime anytime you help yourself physically, mentally, you get better.
One of the
I'm a huge believer in that. Huge.
I agree, and I would even add physically, mentally, and spiritually. I mean, for a long
Oh,
time,
100%.
for a long time I was, I'm doing my physical, I'm doing my mental, I'm working hard, and I just felt like I was banging my head against the wall, working hard, working hard, working hard, and that wasn't a problem. And you hustle, 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 and then you're like, there still feels like there's something missing. And for me, that was it, physical, mental, and then spiritual. And then it was just like, boom, everything opened up right in front of me. And,
Well,
yes, all those things together are so powerful.
yeah, and it's I always, the having a whatever your beliefs are as far as spiritually, whatever they are, and I don't really care. I am in groups where there is a diverse the beliefs are diversely different, which is, I don't care, anything about that. I just talk about my beliefs and understand, it's simple for me because really and truly there's one book you can go by. One. There's not 6,000 motivational books to go look at that you have to look at. There's one book you can go by. And that's 100% for me. That's 100% for me to learn and understand. It's like talents and grace. The grace that we've been given, we didn't earn it, we don't deserve it, but our sins are forgiven from the blood that Jesus Christ shed for us, right? We didn't earn it, we didn't deserve it, but it's ours if we'll accept it. Wow. So every day, on the spiritual side, do I sin? Yeah. Yeah. But am I trying to get better? Yes. That's how my day starts. That's how my day ends, with trying to get better. Is it perfect? No, and it never will be. Right. But that really kind of helped me with accepting progress, not perfection in other areas. And as long as we're trying, and there are times when we're trying real hard and nothing goes right. Nothing, right? Well, the thing there is we got to be satisfied with the effort. If I'm putting out the effort, my dad he gave me, this is kind of what we lived off of when I was a kid. He just said hard work pays off. It may not pay off when you want it to. You keep showing up. I mean, that was big in our family. Show up. You show up. He told me early on, the only guarantee you can give anybody when you're training horses is that you'll show up. Yeah. The rest of it, number one, the rest of it depended on me, right? On me and what I did that day and how I handled the situations and all that, and to be honest with you, at that point in my career, I was probably really, you'd consider me terrible at it. That was a big learning time when you're 16 years old riding horses for the public. But yeah, so there, it goes back to, um, that mindset. The mindset that we go through our day with is so key, because it affects the way you deal with every situation. And every time there's a huge progression, it's preceded by a huge challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
just go ahead.
I think, when you talk about getting off the wagon or getting out of your routine, you talk about in your training program, just having a foundation, something to go back to. And I think it can go all the way back to just being happy with yourself. That's where it starts. And if you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to be happy with your job. You're not going to be happy with your horse, your event, nothing. But you have to find that happiness with yourself and that acceptance of who you are at that time, and then go from there. And everything will open up before you if you just focus on being happy with yourself. Then you become confident. Well, then, because you're confident, your horse becomes confident, and then you become confident in your work, and it just blooms from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Confidence is everything. I love being around confident people. I love being around people that, you know, have a positive vibe, because everybody loves a winner, right? Well, the reason everybody loves a winner is because the way they feel around that person, the way they feel, the energy that they're getting from that person, the energy, the energy that we put out into the world every day, 100% starts right here. But really and truly, it starts with what have we done with our physical being to get ourselves in that, because when I know I'm prepared and I'm in the best shape I can be in, I don't care what we're doing. I'm going to be hard to deal with. I mean, I'm going to be an obstacle to get through, even at 60. If I go get in shape and I get prepared, you're going to have to earn it, or that's my attitude anyway. And you may not, it may be a disaster, but you have to have that mindset. I think that you got to feel that way, like you're saying, about yourself. And, anything you do, like we always talk about, just get started, do one small thing, do anything. I don't care, right? In my, my daily planner, at the top of my planner, the first word on there is discipline. And then below it on the first line, there's 4 words: pray, meditate, gratitude, and work out. And the first word reminds me, you got to keep the promises you made to yourself. You got to, and do I do it every day? No, there's breaks in there. Do I do it the majority of the time? Absolutely. And anytime I feel like I'm kind of getting into a rut, just like you were saying, that foundation, I just go back and read that in my planner, and I'm like, okay, just go spend 15 minutes and think, say a prayer. I've got a gratitude journal that I write down 8 or 10 things every day that I'm thankful for. I do that probably 80 or 90% of the time. My workout, I'm pretty diligent about my workout for the most part. There are breaks in there too, but all I got to do is get started again. And anything you do is beneficial. And as soon as you do the smallest thing, it switches that thought process, and boom, then we're rolling again. We let too many things become overwhelming. It's like working out. As soon as you say the word workout, somebody thinks about sweating, being sore, being miserable. Well, I mean, you can make it that way depending on how hard you want to push yourself, but it doesn't have to be that way. Right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and so that's, I think, what people need to, it's the same way with training horses. To a lot of people, it's overwhelming. It's a simple program. Anybody, Becky knows. I mean, Becky could teach my program. Anybody can learn my program. But along with that comes, what's your mindset? What kind of energy are you putting off? What kind of vibe, just like you were saying, Destry, what kind of vibe are you putting out there? I hate being around people that are negative. I'll tolerate it for a little bit, but pretty soon I'm going to need to go make a phone call or something. I mean, and if it offends them, I don't even care, because really I don't want them back. I mean, and I've got some good friends that are negative, but I got to take it in small pieces, and we all can drift there. We all can drift into that hole easy. But awareness is everything. You got to be aware of what you're doing, what you're letting yourself be surrounded with, right? So, yeah, simple. It's really those things that, like, we know we need to do. They're really easy to do, but the catch is they're really easy not to do.